All right.
Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Bridge Builders of Diversity, where we are building bridges between the special needs community and the typical community. I'm Sherry. I'm a mother of a child with Down syndrome. His name is Nathan. I'm sure you've seen him on some of our videos. And those
are our best videos, really. I'm Roberta. I'm a special education teacher. And today we are here to talk to you about the power of sign language. Now that we push the serious button and we stop laughing. Yeah. You always catch us mid-laugh, like, what's going on? So, what's about that, right? Anyway.
Instead of hitting video, I hit picture.
And then we have to laugh about that for 5 minutes. Yes. So, the power of sign language. Take it away, Sherry. You're going to talk about some of the research that's out there.
Yes, the Mayo Clinic research suggests that baby sign language might give a typical developing child a way to communicate several months earlier than those who use vocal communication. This might help ease frustration between ages 8 months and 2 years, when children begin to know what they want, need, and feel, but don't necessarily have the verbal skills to express themselves. But my son's doctor, God rest his soul, he passed away, he was a neurodevelopment doctor. He told me with Nathan, kids with Down syndrome, when they learn sign language early on, that they have better language skills later on, which we'll get to that story in a minute about the language development.
That's a great story. So stay with us.
Yes.
Don't click off, because good stuff is coming. Absolutely. Because we're also going to talk about my personal experiences can speak to that. I have a 6-year-old grandson, and when he was itty bitty, like 4 or 5 months old, we started to teach him basic sign language. We taught him how to ask for more, how to eat, how to sign for drink and water. In fact, we still use these. Like if he's out on the soccer field and he wants water, he'll catch one of us and say, "Oh, get my water," or "I need a snack." But as an infant, his oral motor articulators hadn't developed yet, so he was unable to say those words. Not because he didn't know what he wanted, but because he didn't have the ability to produce that language. Kind of like Nathan, with the low muscle tone in the mouth and the oral area, it's harder for them to produce words. So giving them sign really opens up those pathways in the brain for that language and communication development. Then I'm also, for the past 17 years, not anymore, but I was a special ed preschool teacher. And most of the children that came through my classroom had communication deficits. Their communication skills weren't developing typically. So what I would immediately start to do is to teach them to sign when they wanted something. Like if they were swinging and they wanted more swing, we would teach them that. We would teach them to ask for the bathroom, how to ask for food or water or a drink, milk. Just so that they could learn the benefit of communication. And when they got that positive feedback, they got their needs met, they would try to assign language to that as well. And it really gave them that boost up for language development.
Yeah, I started Nathan sign language very early, even before I knew that he had hearing loss. I used a lot of those signing time videos. He loved them and watched them. Plus, it was a way that I could learn as well. But that's how he got started with sign language. But he does have mixed hearing loss, and he does attend a school for the deaf in our area. And sign language is his primary language. So I'm very thankful that I started the sign language early on. In Rhode Island, where we live, has mandatory testing for hearing loss. So if your state does not, if your state is not one of them, make sure you get your child tested early and often, especially if they have a disability.
And especially if they have a lot of ear infections, because what can be happening is that language development can be impacted by them not being able to hear verbal language so often because their ears are full of fluid, so they may not have a permanent hearing loss, but those periods of from frequent ear infections, it can negatively impact language
And
development.
I can speak to that because I was a child that had that problem, and it was not resolved until I was 11, and it started when I was 1. So I missed the critical stages of language when I was younger, and I used to cut off the ends of, like, say something, I would say something, because I couldn't hear the ending.
Right.
I struggle when there's, even still today, if there's a lot of noise and there's a crowd or a party, I have to be facing somebody, kind of like typical deaf rules of communication, the eye contact well lit, because I still rely a lot on lip reading when there's a lot of noise
Right.
going on to make sense of, because what happens is when you have hearing loss, when people are putting words out there and you can't hear everything, your brain is just trying to plug in those pieces. And that's why it's important to take the time to communicate, so there's no misunderstanding,
Right.
as
Right.
well, because they may not hear what you're saying correctly, and if they say what 20 times, don't get upset.
You're such a good advocate for yourself, because you'll say to me, turn around, I can't hear you. Stop talking to the wall. I can't hear you when you have your head in the car. Come closer and tell me that. Yeah, so that's a great thing to teach your child if they have hearing loss from ear infections or any other reason. Teach them to advocate for themselves. Make sure that they tell their teacher and the other adults around them. We have these habits, us hearing folk, of turning away while we're talking because we imagine that our voice is magical and will get to your ears and make sense, even when we're not looking at you. Sorry. And that brings me to what's so awesome about Nathan, is he's a code switcher. He knows that I have limited sign language ability and I'm not going to always understand what he wants. So he will speak to me. It's almost like a child who has a second language at home. He does. He has a second language, mainly at home and school, and he code switches. Right. He knows that with hearing people, you speak, and with your deaf friends, you sign. So.
But if you do have a family member who is hard of hearing, you should really try and learn as much sign as you can. I'm not a proficient signer. I did take classes for 5 years. It is a very complex language, but the more you know, the better it is for your child.
And though the YouTube has us, what more could you ask for? And it also has tons and tons of educational videos designed for baby sign, and we call it. There might even be a baby sign channel that's called baby sign, but if you type in the search bar baby sign, you'll get a lot of those videos that have those basic signs that you can teach your young one at home, whether they have hearing loss or not. It just enhances the communication. It doesn't replace verbal communication, but it does enhance it. And there's actually some research that suggests it may enhance their literacy skills too, because it's stimulating that literacy, communication, center of the brain, and developing it.
Yeah, that doctor I had mentioned earlier, who told me about teaching Nathan sign early on because kids with Down syndrome would have better language skills later on. Right. Well, Nathan being hard of hearing, one ear is kind of deaf and the other ear is mild to moderate, to give you an idea of his hearing. That benefit of starting him on sign language really paid off, because in September at the school assembly for Deaf Kickoff.
Wait a minute, before you tell the awesome story, we have to remind everybody, if you like our content, please like, share, subscribe. There's tons of good stuff out here.
Yep.
That
check
we
out our
bring
TED
you.
Talk.
Oh, please check out our TED Talk.
We also have a new podcast called Nathan's Voice.
Oh, please do, because that one is I'm really excited about Nathan's voice. Yes. And you don't have to look at us.
Yes.
if that's what's bothering you, you don't have to look at us. You can just listen to us on Nathan's Voice. Right?
Absolutely.
All right. And now I bet you're dying to hear that story.
All right.
But first, smash all the buttons.
Yes.
And without further ado,
yes,
in September
during Deaf Kickoff, they have an assembly to kick off Deaf Awareness Month. So the people from the state who came in and told their stories in sign language and everything, told their stories, and then they asked for a volunteer from the students of who would like to share their story. And my son raised his hand.
the best part.
Yes. So I wasn't there. I had to work that day, but I had a telephone message from the director of the school on my voicemail, and she was all excited. Of course, she started off with, "Nothing's wrong," because that's the only time school people call you.
But we're keenly aware of that. We're keenly aware of that. This is not an emergency.
Yes, that's what she said. This is an emergency. But she wanted to share that Nathan got up in front of the whole assembly. So the gym was full of people and people from outside the school. And my son got up and signed for 4 minutes straight. She said fluently and articulately. And he told everybody who his best friends were, his favorite sports, which is volleyball, about his family, vacations, all kinds of stuff. And she said he did a marvelous job, and he fluently signed for 4 minutes straight in front of all these people.
You know what the best part about that is to me? Is that normally a guy like Nathan would get overlooked and not have a voice. Mm-hmm. And sign language gave him that voice. Absolutely. How often would he get a chance in a room full of hearing people to articulately communicate his interests, his passions, who his friends, acknowledge his friends.
Right.
That's the best part.
Right.
It's absolutely thrilling. What a great triumph. Mm-hmm. So if you suspect, we were talking about the window of language development.
Yeah.
And I've already said this, but I'm going to say it again. So teaching children sign does not replace vocal communication, especially a typically developing child that you don't have any concerns with, or even if they're a child that you do have some concerns with. It's going to enhance their language development. Mm-hmm. It's going to teach them the function of communication, especially if you're talking about a child on the autism spectrum, that they're neurologically wired differently socially. So they don't really get that innate understanding of the benefits of communication. So teaching them to sign gives them that immediate feedback, and that gratification of, then they start to understand what communication is all about, and they want to share their interests with you, and they're able to because they have a platform, they have that building block of a language communication. So,
yeah. And if you suspect your child has a hearing loss, most states have hearing test at birth, and like kids with Down syndrome have a protocol where they keep getting checked because they're at higher risk for hearing loss. So if your kid is born with some type of disability, you may want to have that checked a few more times. And if you just start seeing things,
if they have a lot of ear infections,
yes, infections.
Have your pediatrician send you to an audiologist. Right. While we know a lot about this topic from our personal development, this is not designed to replace medical advice.
Oh no.
Or the advice of a developmental professional. So, but if you have a suspicion, if your child has had a lot of ear infections, if they're showing some signs like not responding to their name, of having a hearing loss or a communication disorder, talk to your pediatrician. Yes. And check out after you're done checking out our videos, check out baby sign videos on YouTube. You'll learn so much, and your child, it's just a great way to communicate.
And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. You can check us out on Nathan's Voice podcast, and you can also check out our TED Talk.
Don't forget our TED Talk. We were really spectacular.
Yes.
If I say so myself.
People with Disabilities for Hire is the title of it.
That's right. At TEDx.
Brown U.
Brown U. Right.
Alrighty.
So we love you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.